All right. So today we have Errol on. He's one of the newest members of the AUM training program. So, Errol, would you mind go ahead and sharing who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your occupation?
Yes. So I'm from Augusta, Georgia. I recently moved back from San Francisco because of COVID, because this is where I'm from. So I've been here since October of 2020, and I started selling insurance back in August of 2020. And it was a new field for me to venture into. So I had never done sales, never done cold calling before. So it was a huge learning curve. And the model the company I'm currently working with, they have you call and set up appointments and all of that and going there on site. And of course, it being COVID right now, a lot of people don't want to meet in person because of the pandemic. And so I just wasn't getting any traction. I would spend, dial days, Mondays and Thursdays, dialing from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or later, maybe schedule 11 appointments, maybe schedule 3 appointments. And then I would go out in the field and most of my appointments would no show or reschedule. And then I may have one or two sits. And then sometimes I would make a sale, sometimes I didn't. So it was just not a consistent system for me. And so I was on Facebook about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I came across your ad, and I said something's got to change. And so I watched it, I joined it, and it's actually been pretty um, successful, pretty consistent. I have your good days and your bad days, but overall it's working out for me.
Gotcha, gotcha. So I'm glad you shared that. Thanks for sharing that. Well, let's take a step back. So, what were you doing before you got into the life insurance business?
I was actually serving, and before that, I was a project manager consultant. And so my company had layoffs back in 2016. And while I was on the West Coast, I just decided just to kind of take a break from corporate world and live a little bit and explore the city in the West Coast. And I just did serving, bartending, Ubering, basically hustling.
Right.
And then I decided back at the early 2020, right before the pandemic hit, to jump back into more professional role.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so I can see how there's some transition into doing life insurance because if you're in the service industry, you learn how to make a relationship really quick. You learn how to kind of, every table's different. You got
Yes,
customers coming in, high volume, different cocktails, different personalities, different type of drinkers, right? You kind of learn all of those things.
exactly.
And so I can see how you can kind of correlate some of that to in a life insurance business. But what
hmm
specifically led you to choosing life insurance as a path or a different path off of what you were currently doing before?
Do you want me to be honest?
Yeah.
I was just on a job website and I was just like, what the HE double hockey sticks? Let me just try something different and see what happens because at the time nobody was really hiring. It was at the beginning of COVID. And so I saw the ad and I watched some videos and I said, oh, let me try this and see what happens. Because I've always wanted to try sales and now as good a time as ever. So I just jumped in.
Awesome. Awesome. And so can you talk a little bit about that since you're being honest? Can you talk a little bit about so how long was that? That was like, it was August. So that's probably what, 6 months ago?
hmm
So how were your like first 90 days?
Rough. They were challenging because I was learning as I was going. And, when you're in a sales position, there's just a lot of realities that you were not expecting, dealing with, people who can be challenging and just the entire workflow. And so it was something that I had to acclimate to. And I did make, several sales, but it was just something, it was a process that I had to learn and just have realistic expectations on. And
Right.
once I grasped that, then I was able to get into the flow and understand, how to call people, what to say, what not to say, how to position yourself during a call. Definitely at the very beginning, set everything up so there won't be any objections later on. And so, yeah, it was definitely a learning curve.
Awesome. Yeah, and us being in the business and people watching this, being agents before, we've all experienced that kind of same entity where the optimism and opportunity kind of meets and you kind of just like hit the ground and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, it's a brick wall of effort that I've got to climb over here. And so, you're still in it, you're still swinging, still kicking. And obviously during this time, you got to do something. So what do you,
Hmm.
if you take a look back over these last 6 months, even though it's been difficult, it seems like you've been able to still kind of figure some things out. What have you learned about yourself since all of this has transpired?
That I have a lot of perseverance, and that I don't give up. Um, Also, that I'm a very patient person. I consider myself a very patient person, but now I'm like a really patient person with some of the things that I've gone through. So yeah, it's just acknowledging my perseverance, and you just got to keep on going. You can't give up. I mean, you give up when you quit, essentially. So if you just keep going at it and find different ways to be innovative, talk to people and stuff, you'll be fine.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great. And just a little bit more about that. Why do you think people buy life insurance from you? Why do you think that even through all of that, you're still able to protect some families and have that outcome?
I just think, connecting with people and understanding their needs and then positioning it well, and just, being an honest and genuine person, and, doing good business. I think that's what ultimately matters to people, because they want the product, but you just got to know how to position, deliver it to them, and just be honest with them. And I always tell my clients, can I be very honest with you? Very transparent, and they appreciate that. And sometimes I tell them things that they may not want to hear, but I'm letting them know, this is what's going on, and they really appreciate that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's great to hear because when you kind of get on the same side of the table with your clients and you kind of open
Hmm.
and share that honesty, that's when the barriers kind of go down. You start to notice that,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I need to do more of that. And it's that
Hmm.
authentic thing, right? And I'm glad you shared that because a lot of people try to pretend or they like try to do too much. And it's like the more that you begin to be yourself, the easier things are, and the more people can kind of connect with you because you come back down to this human level, and that's really
Hmm.
what it's about, is human connection, right?
Hmm.
Great, great. And so you say you saw something on Facebook, so that's how you found us. And then what happened?
I just watched the video, and ironically, I was in Starbucks and the line was long, so I was just watching the video, and I was like, "Yeah, this is me." Yep,
Starbucks.
I've done
Shout out to
that several
Starbucks.
times. Say what?
I said shout out to Starbucks.
Oh yes, definitely. They've got me through a lot of long mornings. Let's let me not count. And then I came home and I immediately contacted Jack. Well, I set up an appointment. It was like 10:45, and then it was I put the appointment at 11, and then we just started talking, and I was already sold. And so you hit all the struggle points that I've been going through, and it just made the most sense.
hmm And so, yeah, thanks for sharing that. What were some of those, like, because everybody's points are kind of different. What were some of those points that you kind of had enough of, where you was like something needs to change? Because you mentioned that in the beginning. What were some of those things that were at that point for you?
Um, Wasting my time. I was wasting so much time, calling people, driving sometimes 2.5 hours away, and I didn't make any sales or people no show me. And my grandmother told me one thing you will not get back in life is time, so do not waste it. And so I've gotten back a lot of time. Um, that's the main thing for me.
Gotcha,
When
gotcha.
I have
Yeah.
my time back, I'm able to do more things. Like if I'm not driving 2.5 hours round trip, then that's time I could be on the phone, or that's time I could be doing personal or professional development. So I've really gotten more time back.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. And there's a couple videos at the beginning of the training, so I'm sure those probably resonated with you if you got a chance to check those out, a little bit of
Hmm.
personal development stuff, because that's really what's really the difference between some people. Everybody's got the same hours in the day, right? It's what you
Hmm.
do with that time. And so yeah, just diving back into that. So you've been in the program, what's it been, about 2 weeks? Has it been that long?
Yeah, about 2.5 weeks.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah, about 2.5 weeks, almost three maybe. And so you got your first sale. So can you just kind of talk about how that happened, and how that process just went with you?
Yeah, so the first sale went pretty smooth because I called my lead the day of. So we just got on the phone. I, immediately told her who I was. I forwarded her my personal information, like my license number and stuff. And she hadn't, one thing I did do is at the very beginning of the call, I send my information over so they know who I am and I'm a legit insurance agent that can issue policies before I even start anything. So, because you got to build trust in the very beginning. And then we just went through. I got the telesale script actually right here. I was working a few minutes ago. The telesale script, kind of modified it to some of the things that I do specifically for final expense, and just went through it. And it was like a 25, 30-minute process. It was very smooth.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so you can see that, over the long term, this is something that can make you more efficient, right? And we know we have
Mhm.
ebbs and flows of people picking up and, appointments canceling, which we don't really have control over that because we don't control human beings. But for efficiency, for time, right? And not having to drive, and like, if somebody did cancel, you're still at the house, you can like call another lead, or, you got another appointment coming. You're not wasting gas and time getting all the way over there and then somebody canceling, because that's the most frustrating part, right?
It is.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so with that, what's been the reception from folks that you've been able to connect with, using this system?
Oh, it's been pretty good. Like most people, they want to just get it over with very quickly. So, they've been very receptive, understanding, because they're busy as like us. So the quicker we can do it, the better. So, I try not to do anything formal. I just kind of get straight to the point. The telesales script is a really good tool just to kind of narrow down and then start the application process. So it's been going very well.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. And that script comes from an agent, right? You can tell it's like agent that's like trying to be efficient with their time,
Yeah.
is using that script. So yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all of that. And so there may be a few agents that are kind of watching this that have kind of resonated with your journey, and seen some things that they've kind of been frustrated with, or kind of looked at some of this and it seemed too good to be true, or there's a lot of people out there kind of saying a lot of things online, right? So, what would you say to people that are just kind of taking a look at this? And, I know it's just in the beginning for you, just kind of seeing just a couple results in the first 3 weeks, but what would you say to those people, that are kind of on the fence of maybe looking to take a look at something like this?
I would say do it. And, even if you still want to meet with people in person, I think incorporating this approach, this workflow is definitely going to increase your business and give you back some time. Um, I think it's important that, as you grow a business or start a business, you look at different and innovative ways to service people. And I think this is a way that I personally never thought I would be doing telesales because I prefer being in person and talking to people. But after doing the in person, this for me makes the most sense. And I'm still open to doing in person sales, but I know this is going to be more of a consistent way of generating income. So I tell people, just try it. I mean, I've been very impressed with it, and I feel like I have total control of my lead flow and my book of business because now I'm not buying any more leads from a vendor. I'm generating my own leads, and that actually it gives me more control. So I would definitely say do it.
Awesome. Well, Errol, thank you for hopping on and kind of sharing your story. Definitely
Mhm.
helpful for agents and encouraging for our team as well to know that we're, putting clients first and really just focusing on you guys. So thanks for hopping on and taking a few minutes out of your day to share that with us. Thank you so much, and you take
Yeah,
care.
no problem.
All right. Bye bye.